Hey everybody, this is Cherokee Edwards from Cherokee Edwards Inspires, where we're going to have shows here to talk about life, to talk about what makes your life special, what makes it better, and everybody working together, because together everyone achieves more. Acronym for the word team. Stay tuned and let's get it on. Hey everybody, what's going on? This is your boy Cherokee on another edition of the Cherokee Edwards Inspires. And today we are going to talk about value of your work and how to advance yourself. Things that are important. I always like to talk about these things and motivate you into a higher place, a higher spot, pecking order. And a lot of people are trying to, find themselves. And I think that's very important that you do find yourself. I talk to tons of people that are trying to create businesses and trying to advance themselves. And the first thing I would say is to find out who you are. Find out how bad do you really want this thing. And the reason why I want to talk about that is a lot of times people don't value the ones that they actually need in life. So they'll talk about, Cherokee, I want you to talk to me about urgency, or I want you to talk to me about how to build my business, or I need to be taught how to structure myself. And there's a lot of categories in building yourself and making yourself complete and making yourself, worth stepping out on your own. And the funny thing about all this is I ask people to think about times you've taken a class. If those of you that have paid for a class or paid for some type of advanced training, and whether it's college or shop class or anything, that a trade school or something, well, you don't walk in there and ask these people and these teachers and coaches and professors to teach you things for free, right? So I think that's one thing that needs to leave your vocabulary is, finding people that have really achieved something or are building something special, and you say you want to take them out to eat, or you want to get them, a cup of coffee, or, something like that, and you think that's payment enough to pick their brain. People that don't pay for classes don't value the classes. They just don't. If you don't have any skin in the game, then you could quit at any time. You could give up at any time. So I'm not telling you to look for things and look for people to gouge you, but I am telling you to look for value. If somebody is giving you their time, that's of value. If somebody's giving you their talent, that's of value. When you go to work, you trade your time for dollars. So you can't be upset with people that have earned the right to do some teaching and training, and they have a price tag to it. In other words, you should be actually looking for those type of people. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in conferences and different seminars to sharpen my skills. And throughout my 21-year career of commission sales, and it's made me strong. It's made me, it was worth every penny of it. So my thing is, once we become strong and capable of making a difference, we are now entitled to compensation for that skill, that craft, that ability. So I just want to make sure I make clear that when people are holding seminars, or they're whether I'm giving it or anybody else is giving it, that's of value to you, make sure you show them that they're valuable. Don't look for a handout. Look for a hand up, but not a handout. You see, we devalue each other by trying to get the hookup. I never did like when people say, oh, I got a hookup over here, or I got a hookup over here. Because generally what it means is you're getting ready to devalue someone. You're probably getting ready to ask them to do something that could get them fired. And you don't have any value in them if you're going to do that, because they could get fired, and yet you still go to them and ask them to do things that you should have paid for. And that's also how, for you, entrepreneurial spirits out there, that's how you will go out of business before you get in business, is by giving away everything you have, your product, your time, your value for free. When you do something well and excellent, you don't do it for free any longer. That's creating the free enterprise system. The free enterprise system is designed for you to build wealth. You have the right to build wealth, and you should be respected for the things that you have accomplished, for the time you put in, for the money that you've spent, for things that you've done in the past. You should absolutely be able to charge for it, and you should get what you're asking for. Now, one thing I will say that you want to do is you want to underpromise and overdeliver. So if you tell somebody that you'll have a job done in 3 hours, try to make sure you could do it in 2. But don't ever tell them that you could do the job in 2 hours and then you take 3 hours getting it done. That's devaluing your own ability. And once people see you do that, it's almost impossible to get them back. It's very difficult to make a second impression. That first impression is the lasting one. So these are things that I wanted to make sure I came on today and talked about. I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they say, I can't get my business off the ground. And the first thing I find out is they've been giving their cousins, their friends, their brothers, sister, mothers, they've been giving them all free food or doing things for them for free, doing their hair for free, and the first thing I ask when I assess their business is, what did it cost you to buy all the products that you used on these people? And, we'll do an analysis and we say, well, you spend $2,000 for all your products and all what you're doing, your curling iron, your combs, and everything else that you're using. And then you sat here and did somebody's hair for free, several people's hair for free. So you're actually robbing your business. Now, when your business goes belly up, everybody will sit there and say, oh man, you had a good business. I can't believe that went belly up. I feel so bad for you. But those are generally the ones who got something for free. And I'm not on here to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just on here to keep it real. I want to keep it real because then it becomes real profitable. You have to understand the difference between a friend, an associate, and a client. Business partners, networks. When it's time to do business, you need to do business with business people. Your clients can't be friends of yours, family, if they're coming for free. And when we start talking about picking people's brains and, hey, let me run some things past you, value the person's time because they're going to give their time up for you. They have earned the right, especially when it's one-sided. If, I've heard people say, we've had a meeting of the minds. And when we got together, the only person that was bringing anything up was me. The other individual wasn't helping me at all with situations that I was trying to get accomplished. So they benefited out of it and I didn't. So the only way I'm going to benefit out of it is to charge them. Now, I'll tell you what, guys, friends out there, when you put a price tag to your value, when you give yourself a value, you're going to see a lot of people fall off of you. You got to be willing to accept that if you really are going to be great. Because in order to have things you've never had before, you have to be willing to do things you've never done before. And you also are going to have to know how to separate yourself from people that are stagnant. It doesn't mean that you never come around them, because it could be your family. It could be a spouse. It could be, best friends, right? I'm not telling you to disown them. I'm not telling you not to be their friends. I'm saying when it's time to get serious and get down to business, you need to be surrounded by business people. And if they don't fall into that category, then you have to be willing to say, hey, I'll see you later, but I got to go and do some things. I got some things I got to get done. There's a saying that a lot of business people use. We love to use this: burn the ships. And what that means is, when we come to the beach and storm the beach, and we know this is a beach we have to have, well, we know we're in for a battle. If you burn the ships, no one can run. So they're forced to fight. They're forced to fight. And another thing is when people say, hey, never burn your bridges. Never burn your bridges. You never know when you're going to have to cross them again. Well, I'm telling you to burn the bridges, because sometimes the bridges that we burn are meant never to be crossed in the first place. So once you burn that bridge, it prevents you from going back to a place you should have never been in the first place. I'll be right back with a little bit more. Standing by for station identification. We'll be back in a minute.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right, guys, we're back with Cherokee Edwards Inspires, and we're talking about value, self-worth, and investing in yourself. Don't be afraid or ashamed to invest in making yourself better, because by investing in yourself, by simply paying something and paying someone to teach you something that you need to know, you're actually letting them know, hey, I value you so much and what you've learned and what you've accomplished and what you've done that I'm willing to pay for your time. And a cup of coffee, a soda, juice, a Subway sandwich, that's not what I'm talking about. You know, sometimes people have driven an hour to talk to you or to let you come an hour, and they've shuffled their time. And they leave, when you leave or they leave, they feel empty because you've taken from them, but you haven't filled them up with anything. And I'm telling you, that's the biggest problem for small businesses, entrepreneurs, especially minorities. I'm going to say that because minorities have a tendency to want something for nothing. You know what I mean? And want somebody to get something, and then they come in and they don't want to pay full price, but yet they'll go to someone else and they'll pay twice as much for less value. And they have no problem doing that. Well, if we're going to do that, we can't be upset when we see businesses close like that, because that's the next step. Either they're going to close or they have to say no to you. And some people are trying to keep it real, as I give my air quotes, so much that they're willing to let their business be destroyed by it. I don't want you guys to fear change, because change comes with the challenge. And if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. You don't need faith when everything's going right. You know, adversity builds your character, not triumph. You know, when you win, everybody wants to ride with the winner, but they really root for the underdog. You know, the best team can always beat the best individual in a team sport. That's always going to happen. I remember watching a playoff game with the Chicago Bulls in the 80s and the Boston Celtics. And Michael Jordan was the best individual NBA player. Larry Bird said he's the best player he ever seen in his life, because Michael Jordan scored 63 points that night. Here's the problem. The Celtics actually beat the Bulls. So even though Jordan scored more points by himself than two players put together on the Celtics, the problem was there's 5 players on the court. plus the bench. And the rest of the Bulls didn't do too much scoring. So, needless to say, this man led the NBA in scoring for about 6 years, 7 years, and it took him 8 years to win his first title because he didn't have a complete team around him. But the moment he got a team around him in a core group, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Jim Paxson, BJ Armstrong. The moment he got these players around him, he could not lose anymore. Now, all of a sudden, he won 3 straight titles. Then he retired to play baseball for a couple years, came back and won 3 straight more titles. Well, because he could have help now. He could be showcased. You couldn't just key on Jordan all the time. Well, that's what you want in business. You want to create that type of team. It's like a dream team for business. But the first thing that must happen is you have to value people that are coming around you. And if you don't value them, which means you don't respect them, then you have to change the circle you're around. These are the things that must happen in order for you to take those steps forward that you need to take. Or you'll become another statistic of somebody that had a lot of talent but didn't have the will to make it happen. If the will is great, the skill will come. But it's not the skill as much as the will. The will is you never quitting. Because winners never quit and quitters never win. These are the things that I want to make sure I bring home in this podcast today. I want you guys to think about what I'm saying and realize that you cannot grow if you don't know. Applied knowledge is power. Not knowledge by itself, but applied knowledge. So I want y'all to keep that in mind. Until next time, wash your hands. And thank you guys for following. Check me out on my Facebook Live. I'll be on there Monday. And I will also be on there probably throughout the week. But Monday and Friday, I do Inspirational Nourishment. So I'll always be talking about something that people want me to talk about. Or I'll just make up something to try to help get through the day, get through the week. Monday is for that part. And then Friday is to close out the week. All right, guys. Take care of yourself. God bless. And do your thing. Talk to you soon. One love.